Hello, guys, and welcome to this week's ITFC Unrestricted podcast. How are we all doing this week? I hope you've all had a good week. Ipswich back underway now, properly in the league. It's nice to see, getting back to that routine. But yeah, I hope we've all had a good week. I've had a bit of one of those tough, challenging weeks. Work sort of dragging on a little bit, being a little bit more challenging. But I suppose I can't complain, being busier at work. But yeah, sort of exhausted by the end of the week. Sort of treated myself on Friday night to a nice big chicken and doner kebab and just put myself into a food coma. Never forget how good a kebab is, really. I don't have them that often, but when you do have a nice one, it does always sort of bring back good memories. But yeah, anyway, that's enough of that. It'll probably make you all hungry thinking about that. But let's go into what usually gives us plenty of food for thought, and that's Ipswich Town. So obviously we had two games that we didn't cover in the last Sunday's episode. So we had the mini match pod making its debut. So if you haven't checked that out, I would highly recommend that. That talked about both the Wigan and the Fulham game, as well as building up to Saturday's game against Bristol Rovers. So there's that. But we'll talk about all the other news before we see how we got on Saturday. So let's roll straight into the news.
News team, assemble!
Right, so Sunday, plenty of fallout from the opening game of the season. It really still sort of fried my brain that we started on a Sunday. I know it was on Sky, but it's always sort of confusing. You're used to sort of the 3 p.m. on Saturday, and obviously all the TV times have all sort of, Premier League is all on TV. It was really annoying. There was only one 3 p.m. kickoff. It sort of spoiled my Saturday. I usually like seeing sort of when one of the promoted teams has won and they're top of the table on the opening day once all the games have been played. But yeah, that's neither here nor there. We don't worry about that. We're a mile away from the Premier League, sadly. But yeah, everything's seeming rosy. Paul Lambert coming out, very happy with how the boys are progressing. We've had all that time off. Not the greatest pre-season, but yeah, to get underway with a win, I think that's what everyone wanted to see. Picked out a few boys for praise in particular. John Nolan and James Wilson were the two that seemingly got singled out for special praise, but I think everyone really had a good game on Sunday. But yeah, it's really good to see us get underway with a win. That's all we wanted, really. Puts a lot of minds at rest. Obviously Wigan weren't the greatest quality of sides with all the trouble that they're going through at the moment, but that's how things go in football, unfortunately. But yeah, there's still rumblings on about Flynn Downs and that press conference as well after the game. I don't want to keep going into it. You hear enough about it, but I just want to see resolution now. He keeps banging on, but yeah, he obviously came back in midweek, which he came in on off the bench for the game against Fulham. But yeah, just want to see resolution now. If he's going to stay with us, then I welcome him back with open arms. But if he goes, best of luck to him. I think that's all we can really say about this. Don't want to keep hearing about mindset and whatever. Not we don't know what's fully going on, and I think we just need to get behind the lad. He's our player at the moment, at the very least, and whatever he decided to do, whether you agree with it or not, we just want to see him give his best for Ipswich Town, and I'm sure he will do that. Obviously, if you want to hear a little bit more about the Wigan game and what myself and some of my special guests thought, you can go back and watch the mini match pod. So that'll be out every Thursday, a little bit of a longer episode than what we'd usually be putting out on a Thursday. So when we've got a midweek game, we'll always be talking about that, but that'll always consist of a preview for the midweek for Saturday's game. So this week's we'll be covering, I think we've got Rochdale, haven't we? So yeah, we'll be talking about them. Probably won't be as long as last week, but yeah, still something to sink your teeth into. Also on Sunday we saw Ipswich Ladies. They got underway. They had a little bit of a showcase game at the Gold Star Ground, sort of an in-house game really. But yeah, I think there were some fans who got down there to watch that. So great to see fans back in stands at least. Obviously we were a bit unsure really what's going to be happening over the next couple of months, but yeah, we're not going to mention the C word on this podcast. Definitely not that C word either. We'll try not to anyway. Depends how angry I get over the season, but but yeah, if I urge anyone, if you want your football fix, they've got their opening tie. Well, it's been played, but they're playing #United today as you're hearing this, so keep an eye out for them fixtures and ticket news. I'd definitely recommend going down there if you want to get your football fix. And if the weather's like it is at the minute, it's always nice to go down to Felixstowe. Not always people's most popular destination, but you can have a good day out there anyway. Monday, a bit quiet. Teddy Bishop making the League One Team of the Week, and quite a few other League One Team of the Weeks from various media platforms was probably the highlight of the day. It's really good to see Teddy back in the team starting. Three consecutive starts, which is something we probably haven't been able to say in a long time with Teddy Bishop. But yeah, if he can stay fully fit for the whole season, if that happens, and that's a very big if, something we're going to talk about a little bit later on. But I'll make a bold prediction, and I think he'll be one of the contenders for Player of the Year if he has a fully fit year. I think he would be that influential in the middle of the park. Someone of his ability that we've missed for a number of seasons. He's had so much bad luck with injuries, if it is indeed bad luck. But yeah, I really hope we see the best of Teddy, and great to see him score a header. I think he said he's never scored a header in his life. But yeah, we've all seen the yeet. Is it the yeet thing going around? I fucking don't know what that means. So yeah, but great to see him get underway and scoring again. And goals from midfield, we don't say that very often either. Tuesday, Towns under-23s kicked off their campaign with a 1-1 draw with Millwall's under-23s in the Professional Development League 2. Well, that's a bit of a mouthful. Zach Brown scoring after coming off the bench, but Millwall equalised just after. So that team featured the likes of Barry Cotter, Ben Falami, Tyrese Simpson. Out of those three, I would like to see all of them go out on loan, really, to gain some sort of first-team experience. But obviously, we can't leave the under-23s too short. But yeah, they're back underway. Didn't see El Mazzuni in there. I think he's picked up an injury, which is a shame because I thought he might have got a chance against Fulham in midweek had he been fit. But yeah, it looks like he's another one to join the injury list. We also saw... we delved into the rumour mill twice in 2 weeks. Not great, but yeah, more Kane Jackson talk. Starting to sound a bit like Sky Sports News over here, aren't we? But I think the only sources I've got here are HB and Hines, unfortunately. So yeah, Birmingham reportedly coming in with a £2.5 million bid for Kane Jackson. So we saw, I believe it was last week, we had the Bournemouth interest, but yeah, it was seemingly more Championship side sniffing around Caden. But I think a lot of fans would happily bite Birmingham's hands off for this £2.5 million bid if indeed it is true. It'd be a good little bit of business for us. Something we haven't really seen a lot of the time in recent years. We bought Jackson in for 1.6, so to turn over just under $1 million isn't a bad deal. I'm not sure how much. I'm sure Accrington are sort of licking their lips. I'm sure they've got some a sell on fee in that deal when it was agreed. But yeah, I think he's earned a Championship move. I wouldn't begrudge him step him up to the Championship once again. The value makes sense. He has increased in value because he obviously didn't have a great year with us in his first year in the Championship, making, I think it was 2 steps up, wasn't it? He came from League 2, but then last year having a really good year in League 1. So that was his first full year as a League 1 player, as you'd say, sort of as a senior player. That sort of increase in value, obviously football transfer fees always get inflated as the years go by, but yeah, I'd probably say that's good value and a good deal probably all round for us. Later in the week, obviously Birmingham will go on to announce Scott Hogan coming in, and you'd probably argue he's a safer option at Championship level, sort of got a much better record than Caden has got, but they're not blessed with a great deal of striking options. I think Karanka only usually likes to play one striker, but yeah, they've lost a few options there, and maybe they see Jackson add into what they've already got there. I think they've got Jukovic there, who's always sort of a good Championship striker. But yeah, we'll see what happens if Birmingham or Bournemouth do come back in again for Jackson. There may be other interest. I think Stoke have been rumoured as well, but I don't think there's anything concrete in those talks. But yeah, time will tell. So Wednesday, obviously, we unfortunately exited the Carabao Cup against a very strong Fulham side. Once again, more reaction to this can be found on the mini match pod. So yeah, Fulham go on to face Sheffield Wednesday in the 3rd round. So missed out on a tie there, but you know how I feel about cup runs. I'm not too bothered. But Thursday. Thursdays are always really quiet, fine. Sort of always the calm before the storm. We all know what Fridays are about, so we'll go on to talk about that in a minute. But yeah, it's always the calm before the storm on a Thursday, ahead of a match day weekend. So yeah, I do want to pick up on Toto's interview. So he had an interview with the club's media team after the game with Fulham, where he was captain. And it was great to hear from him, really. I think we all know that he had a very difficult year on and off the pitch. I think he had some personal issues with his father not being well, and obviously not starting the season very well with us. He did have a few critics about the place, and I think this season he started really well. It's early days. We're not going to, get too excited just yet, but I think probably that loan spell at Bolton maybe helped him. Going in there as a senior player with all the issues they've got at the time, that probably really helped him. And now maybe he's come back to us and sort of had a bit of a reset, had some chats with people, maybe Paul Lambert and some of the senior management team, and we could see the best out of him. I think if we can recapture the player he was at Shrewsbury and the player we believe we were signing, he could be a real asset as a League One centre half. I think at Championship, at the Championship he was probably a step too far. He didn't perform off. He wasn't too bad in certain games, but other games you could sort of see he was a bit of a fish out of water. But, he's a bit like Wilson. If there's no reason, if you give them the confidence or belief and don't expect too much from them, that they can't do a job at League One level. And against most sides, I don't think we've been tested yet. But, maybe against the better side we'll struggle a little bit more. But, yeah, I think he could contribute. We need options at centre-half. Obviously, last year we were really limited. When we went to the three at the back, we only had three centre-halves. That's why we had to get Josh Earl in January. But, we've got, if we're going to stick with four at the back, we've got four, arguably five League One level centre-halves, and potentially, got Wolfton, who we hope will go on to play higher, hopefully with us, but probably not. And then you've got Chambers is more than capable, and Wilson and Toto. So, and then obviously Corey and Darby may flourish and be the next Luke Wolfenden. So yeah, hopefully we can keep riding this wave of momentum, and it'll give these players who perhaps lost a little bit of confidence and lost their way last season, that'll spur them on a little bit more. But yeah, who knows, I might get a little bit of value out of this Toto shirt that I've got. He might come full circle and be a top player for us this season, but time will tell. It's a long old season, and yeah, a lot of tests to come. So Friday, yeah, we all know what Fridays are about. It's press conference day, isn't it? And yeah, big news is probably the injury to Aaron Drinan. So he's got a thigh issue which will keep him out for a couple of months. So in Ipswich Town land, that's the whole season probably. I've got to the point where I'm not even angry with these injury issues anymore. It's just what simply happens at Ipswich Town, and it's not right. But how many years have we sat here, and either before a season or mid-season or any point there's been an injury which has just dragged on. You look at the squad going into the Bristol Rovers game. We haven't got Scouse, Vincent Young, Jackson and Darber, and now Drinan. And there's still fitness issues around Norwood, I think, and Hawkins. It just keeps dragging on, and I think until we get someone in the club who identifies what this problem is or attempts to offer some sort of resolution, it's just going to simply keep happening. It's so frustrating. And we could list a whole reel of names off who've suffered at the hands of, whether it's mismanagement or sports science or whatever it is, we'll never know, who've been with us and really struggled and then gone on to leave the club and had seemingly no issues elsewhere. So I think this is the one thing that's really holding us back. We really need to address this, and we can keep signing players. Transfers will always happen in football, but if you can't keep your players fit and on form, that's when you're going to struggle. And yeah, I hope we take steps to resolve this, because this is where we're getting left behind. Sports science, it's quite a big thing in football now. I've watched the Leeds Take Me Home documentary and the way that they've revolutionised their training ground. I can only dream of having Marcelo Bielsa at this club, and the levels of investment that Leeds have got. But we seemingly don't seem to be making any attempt to rectify this issue that's, like I said, has been going on for years. But yeah, we'll see how long Drilling is out for, really, and how long a lot of them others are really going to be out, because we've got a big squad, but I think we saw on Wednesday night how the drop off in quality is when we don't have the likes of Kane Vincent-Young at fullback, and I think we'll see the same when our strikers aren't fit as well. It's going to cause a world of issues. But yeah, Andre Deezer was the elected player on media duties, and it was good to hear from him. We don't hear a lot from Andre, but he's had a terrific start to the season, and I hope he can continue in this form. He's really finding his feet in that deep role in the midfield as the pivot, really pulling the strings. But he's still got a lot to learn, and I think he said he's getting used to being man marked now, which teams are going to recognise his quality and what he offers for us as a player. But he's going to have to learn to do a little bit more defensive work as well, and I think we've seen that he's grown into that. The first game against Bristol Rovers, I think he was a little bit slack, but Tuesday we had a tough Wednesday, didn't we? Had a tough opponent. I think he was tasked with sort of trying to man mark Bobby. Is it Decor Dover Reed? I swear he was just Bobby Reed at one point. They've changed that name, haven't they? But he was sort of tasked to man mark him, and he did really well. A lot of Fulham's joy was coming out wide because we kind of plugged the middle. So yeah, it's really good to see that Andre is sort of really stepping up, and I think he's sort of gaining in confidence both as a person and sort of in that role. But yeah, that's the news this week, guys. Obviously, it's always going to be a little bit more quiet now. The games are coming thick and fast. We'll always be talking about the games in a bit more detail. So let's see how we got on. First away trip of the season. We built it up in the mini match pod. But yeah, let's see how we got on at the Memorial Stadium against Bristol Rovers. Right, so the full-time score, Bristol Rovers 0, Ipswich Town 2. Another win on the board, top of the league. No, let's not get too carried away just yet, guys. We know what happened last year. But yeah, as I said, some videos are going to be a little bit more in-depth now going through the game. So, and we might have some more special guests joining us at a later point as well. So yeah, keep your eyes and ears peeled for that. But we'll do a little bit of a match report on the game. How I felt things went. All the key events, and then, as many of you may know who follow me on Twitter, I do my player ratings. I try and get them out just as the final whistle blows. I always have a joke with Ash and the boys that Andy Warren copies mine, but I think that's by the by. I think we're just very similar minded and watch the game the same way. But yeah, we'll put the player ratings in. When we get some special guests on, we're going to sort of have a head-to-head player rating, so see how much we differ on our views and, yeah, compare the two. And then we'll just talk a little bit about next week. Obviously, we'll cover Rochdale in the mini match pod, but, yeah, just general thoughts and try and talk through the game a little bit more. So Town made 2 changes to the starting 11 from the game against Wigan. So out go Alan Judge. Didn't really hear why he was out of the team. Nothing mentioned in the press conference on Friday, and then obviously Aaron Drinnan, who we know is injured. In comes Gwion Edwards and James Norwood for his first start of the season. So game was quite even at the start of the game. Really scary moment early on with Brandon Hanlon beating the offside trap and similarly left all alone, one-on-one to finish against Holy. I think it even took himself by surprise that he was ruled onside. But yeah, really tame effort, and luckily Town get away unscathed there. But yeah, I think we weathered their early energy and pressing really well. I think they were trying to disrupt us getting the ball into Deezer, and I think at times they were pretty good at doing that. But at other times where they're still working this system under Garner, that it gave Deezer a little bit of space to try and pull some strings in midfield. But yeah, once we settled into our rhythm, and really we was trying to get the ball to Deezer, work the ball out wide and create chances. We got plenty of crosses into the box in that first half, but really poor deliveries, and generally just not a lot of men in the middle of the park for us, really. I think Norwood cut an isolated figure for quite a lot of the first half. I think our wide men, as we said in our tactical review, the wide men were very much playing as wide men, hugging the touchline, and with the way that Bristol set up their side, obviously I think they learnt their lesson a little bit. They kind of packed the middle of the park this week, stopped Nolan and particularly Teddy Bishop from pulling any strings and getting up there to help James Norwood. We had a lot of joy out wide, but just generally the quality was lacking, and without the numbers in the middle of the park, that's where we really seemed to struggle. So the only real chance I can think of in that first half was when Freddie Sears won that free kick. Norwood won the free kick, didn't he? But Sears took the free kick. Better efforts than he had against Wigan, and just forcing a good save low to his left out of Yakula in goal, just inside the left-hand post there. So fairly even first half, but I wouldn't say there's a lot of quality from either side. I think Bristol's best chances, and this was a running theme throughout the game, their best chances seemed to come from set pieces, and I never really felt threatened from open play. And I think, credit where it's due, our defence held very firm today. I was very impressed by Toto Nsiala and James Wilson at the heart. I thought they dealt with Brandon Hanlon really well as Westbrook, who was playing a little bit higher than we anticipated, and Jaden Mitchell-Lawson as well. So, a fairly even first half, but a little bit frustrating. I think the telling stat that popped up on iFollow was 1 out of 14 successful crosses in that first half, which really showed that we were getting the balls in, just not having the quality to find anyone with them. But, second half, more huffing and puffing to start off with. I think Bristol sort of offered a little bit of a better account of themselves, particularly at the start of the first half. And like I said, the dangerous set pieces was really the only way they were going to score, and they were getting some good deliveries. Westbrook putting some terrific balls into the box, but unfortunately for them and luckily for us, nobody getting on the end of them. But I think you could tell sort of by the hour mark Norwood was pretty gassed. It was his first start back for Ipswich Town, and the moment that bugged me was where we had that counter and he was caught offside just over the halfway line, and then getting booked for dissent. Really poor from Norwood, and I think he did struggle this afternoon. I guess in particular, I wouldn't say it's all his fault, but he was very isolated against 3 centre halves, and the wide men simply weren't getting forward. But as the game went on, I think you could tell Bristol were really sort of flagging, and it was a war of attrition really, and Town were really starting to create a little bit more. Edwards rounded the keeper after an absolute peach of a pass from John Nolan, who I thought again had another terrific game, which saw Mark Little clearing off the line, and then you could tell that Bristol were really holding on. A lot of last-ditch challenges and saves from the keeper, really keeping the scores level. But goal came seemingly out of nothing. Throw in on the right-hand side, work to Jack Lancaster, puts in a dangerous cross, and a miscommunication between Ema and Yakula sees sort of a wayward header just loop over the keeper and into the net. So, probably made our own luck, really. I think we were forcing Bristol Rovers into these mistakes and really disrupting their pattern of play. But, once we got this early goal, I think once we got this goal, we were away then. I think the game was ours, and luckily for us, we finished off with a second goal, and John Nolan scoring again. Don't say that very often, but great effort from John Nolan, and another solid performance. But I think Bristol will be proud of how they played. I think they just need to be a little bit more creative in open play. I think set pieces are very dangerous. Westbrook playing further forward with ups and sort of holding and anchoring in things, worked a lot better than it did in how they lined up against us in the game in the Carabao Cup. But we'll move on to the player ratings. We'll see how I've ranked our performance. So, player ratings. So we'll go through every player that featured. Some games we may not be able to do the subs because, if they come on 80 minutes plus, they don't really get a chance to make an impact. But so we'll go through the whole team, starting with Thomas Holy in goal. I'm giving him a 7. I thought deliveries were, his distribution was a lot better today, and he managed his game very well. Since at times Holy's distribution has, been questioned at times, but I thought he was a lot better today. Luke Chambers 6, didn't do anything wrong today, but I think he didn't get as forward in supporting the wide player ahead of him quite as much as he did against Bristol Rovers in the Cup. Toto Enciala gave him a 7, really solid performance at the back, dealt with Hanlon really well. James Wilson, another 7, same as Enciala, did really well at the back. I thought there wasn't really anything to mark him down on. Stephen Ward, giving him a 6, same as Chambers really, didn't do anything wrong, but wasn't always as effective as he was getting forward. Andre Dazelle got a 7. Tough afternoon, he was definitely the marked man throughout, but came away well, and I think as the game went on you could see his quality was really helping us drive forward for that win. Teddy Bishop, he only got 5 today for me. Really struggled today, but when Bristol Rovers sat in with 5 men in the middle of the park, really making it difficult to play through, that's going to diminish Teddy Bishop's ability. It's like running through a maze really for him. So John Noland 7, that probably would have been a 6 if it wasn't for his second half performance. Did really well, obviously getting a goal, reaping his rewards. Gwion Edwards, probably unlucky not to have a goal, but a little bit better finishing, but very energetic. End product wasn't always there, but a good game for Gwion. Definitely deserved his place in the team. James Nord, again at 5, probably not all his own fault, very isolated at times, but some poor decision making later on in the game probably cost him. Freddie Sears 6 again, same with Chambers and Ward, played his role well, but again delivery not always fantastic. And then the subs, Jack Lancaster gave a 6, obviously set up the goal in the end, first goal, but yeah, probably not as influential as maybe he would have liked. Flynn Downs 6 as well, influential really. You could tell his quality when he did get on the ball, but again not quite enough to impact the game. Ollie Hawkins 6 again, held up the ball well and fairly gave a good account of himself really. As for Bristol Rovers, we'll always sort of look at the opposition, how they do, so we'll give them a 6 out of 10 as well. I thought first half they did fairly well, kept the game even, but as legs sort of started to tire, we came into our own and ultimately came away with the reward. So yeah, top of the league again. But yeah, I wouldn't say I've been tested as yet, and hopefully we can go on to bigger and better things in the season. Join me on Thursdays at 7 p.m. for the mini match pod as we look back at Town's performance in midweek action before giving you a comprehensive look at this weekend's opponent, giving you all the knowledge and stats you need ahead of the game. We've got you covered. Right, thank you very much for listening then, guys. That'll probably do us for this week. So yeah, another positive week, another win on the board for Ipswich, but yeah, early days as yet. We'll see where that takes us. But yeah, make sure you check out the mini match pods. If you want to hear my views on, and the guys' views on Wigan and Fulham, we'll definitely get them on for some more episodes in the future. But yeah, this week will be a Rochdale preview, so it won't be quite as long as the last episode, but yeah, giving you a little bit of a preview into Saturday's match. Make sure you check out FNZ as well. So we've always got our Monday night show, just talking about the broader footballing world, and 90+3 is still carrying on. We've got Matt Jarvis this week, so former Wolves and Scum winger. But I'd really, if you haven't listened to any of the 90+3s to this point, now is the time to get in, because we've got some really big guests coming up and some of my favourites. I think the next couple of weeks we've got John Coleman, so Accrington Stanley manager. We've got Mickey Adams, who's managed so many clubs and he's such a character. That's definitely my favourite one. I'd recommend checking that one out when it comes out. And yeah, some really big names. Darren Prattley, so a midfielder would probably come up against this season. So yeah, make sure you check that out as well, guys. But yeah, until Thursday, come on you Blues, top of the league. No, we're not getting carried away. Have a good week, guys, and take care. Thank you for watching or listening to this week's ITFC Unrestricted podcast. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Deezer and TuneIn. If you haven't already, make sure you follow, download or subscribe so you never miss an episode wherever you are listening. A new episode will be live on all platforms at 6 p.m. every Sunday. For more immediate reaction to all the latest town news, give me a follow on Twitter at rskid26. Go on, you know you want to. Until next week, I've been your host, Mark Beck. So take what you need, be on your way, and keep on following town.